Okay, so I will ask.
You didn't align yourself. He got in between.
But just for reference, you mentioned this tribe building something. The tribe.
Tribe.
Yeah, and there is a person who developed
Ken Robinson.
Ken Robinson. Okay.
Yeah, he's written 2 or 3 books on creativity. In fact, Ken Robinson is the person who has the most seen TED lecture. You know the TED lecture because he's very funny as well, and he has the typical British humor. So his presentations, although they are profound, are blended up with with like a comedian type of thing, no? Very very particular. Ken Robinson.
When you spoke about fear, I think the most important sort of fear is the fear of fear. You didn't mention it, but I think that's the most important.
Yeah, I mean, in the world, okay, there are so many fears, no? I put a list there which is not exhaustive. It's not intended to be, let's say, okay, these are the only fears. But yes, I mean, any fear in the end will block you. Of course, I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have never fears. I think a fear also plays a very important role in survival. But in this case, if we're talking about the build-up of a person, the confrontation of fear, including the fear of fear, is absolutely central.
Well, but I don't think I've structured enough, so I'll ask it later.
So if I understand well, you are now building a network working with schools at what level?
All sorts of levels, from primary to upper secondary, and technical institutes as well.
But not universities.
We are beginning now to move. What's happening with this environment is that we don't have the resources to multiply the skills. Okay, we are a group of 15 people. You must imagine that we are very busy, all of us, because we are completely spreading the territory. So I mean, people really work very. That's me,
Somebody's checking up on you.
So we are building, for instance, with the Fab Lab, because we don't have the skills ourselves. But the Fab Lab is a fundamental element of the ecosystem. We are working with the makers community of Rome. But the makers community is not that all of them know how to use the machines. Okay, some of them use the 3D printer, another may use the soldering, another may use the. So what we are doing is taking advantage that we bought the machines to give the courses to all of them. So we're beginning to multiply the skills, and then we will allow them to use the Fab Lab for their own purposes in exchange for formative hours towards the community. And in that way, we will begin inviting teachers into it. And so there's an entire process where and we are beginning to do the same with artists. Because we want to, I didn't, because it doesn't exist yet, but we want to add another space which is more about video games and immersive reality, which connect very strongly with artists, media arts. So the artists who are also programmers actually, because they're doing arts and technology, right? I want them to have access to a space where they can exhibit their work, but they must offer us training time for youngster kids and teachers. We need to multiply the skills. The skill is a blockage. And the only way we can really break this and begin to get contributions, so for instance, the person who created the soldering workshop of half an hour, I asked him to do a template so that becomes codified as a way of creating a library of many activities in the course of time. So that it becomes a kind of a very territorially rooted, globally connected collective intelligence. No? But with the purpose of education for life. Because that's a meaningful thing for me. No? I mean, it's not just, for instance, the Fab Lab has no meaning for me. I know that the makers are, I mean, they love the Fab Lab. The maker community go crazy about the Fab Lab. The laser cutter is a favorite. No? But if it doesn't serve for me a higher purpose, which is education for life with all the dimensions, it's not very purposeful.
The makers community in Italy is the same thing as the hacker space. There are hacker space where they also have like 3D printers and.
Yeah, I mean, all these communities they blend, no? But the makers may not be hackers. The makers go there to just build things, right? For instance, the makers are very good at robotics. The Arduino community. So we also work with Arduino. All these communities, no, which are building coding. There are many organizations in the United States and in other parts of Europe which are organizing, for instance, Code Dojo, no, Code Motion. So these are all about coding, no. So it blends with robotics, it blends with video gaming, it blends. But these are the skills that people really need now, no, in terms of building not just the skills, let's say the personal cognitive skills, no, but also the practical skills of using the machines that will enable them to get the jobs. No?
Can I ask you what's the reception of these from the children? I mean, are they? It's mandatory. Everybody at school has to go there.
No.
And if not, well, what's the percentage? How many children are applying for being part of this?
The limit is the space, no? Because the robotics center, that's fully subscribed all the time, no? And they're coming kids from primary school, they love it. But this is also an issue, for instance, for problems of the needs, no? You know, the needs, not in employment, not in training, not in education. That's a phenomenon of people who do nothing. Well, in Italy, there are 2.3 million people there, right? In Britain, it's also a big problem, the needs, no? But it's also the school abandonment. So all these problems, some of these people who are problem come to this place, I mean, they're transformed. They're completely concentrated building things. We are going to create a program for girls, for instance, because the girls are really coming and very active and enjoying. So, I mean, you are creating a different way of learning, no? Which is entertaining. You are building things, you are working in the group. You don't see conflict. We have done projects where we are blending normal kids, primary school kids with problems, no? Concentration problems. We are blending them into teams. So robotics against isolation, no? So, but to answer your question in terms of percentages, okay, I mean, it's talking the ocean yet, huh? Because I mean, we have one robotics center where 20 people may come. If 2 schools come during the one day, that's 2 classes, no? So that's 40 people. I mean, there are thousands of people. So I mean, that's the reason why we see that it's important that different configurations of these spaces go really into schools. These belong to schools.
Here there is an experiment like this, sorry. Now you have your question.
No, I want to continue on what you said. Can you explain a bit more about that? Like, you're going into schools, how is that process going? How is, I mean, politics around it. I understand that in Italy it's easier to get into the schools, but I mean, really making space into schools, is that so
This is what we want.
doable?
Okay, what we have done so far is that it's not just that the governance of the schools allowed, it's very important. If you don't have the governance that does not allow any NGO to come into the school, that's it. No? If you want to build something like this, you need to start working to change the governance. Because if you apply the diamond of alignment and you look governance, it probably will be zero. At that point, you know that that's the point to tackle, right? But in our case, because there is these spaces for programs that the teachers themselves developed and the school presidents support, then they mobilize other teachers. They play their own little contingency building games, right, to build the project. So working with us, they adopt our projects. Okay. Now it's not easy because apart from governance in the sense of the legislation, there is also an element of your reputation, right? I mean, we have a very strong reputation right now built over years with the world of schools. I mean, we are good news for the world of schools. So when we approach a school, normally it's not difficult for us now to open the doors. Okay. At the beginning, if you are not known, obviously you have an entire contingency building game to play at, right? So I mean that's another element of it. Then obviously it's the space of project that they can come to our place on part of the project is played in their own schools. This now is a jump because what we are intending to do is the emergence of spaces that can be virtually connected, but in different versions. I mean, they may choose to emphasize more the Fab Lab. They may choose to emphasize more the ideation part or the robotics part or whatever, no? So different configurations based on project building. So what we want is to launch a challenge for them to begin to structure projects so that already the creation of the environment becomes a project.
In what phase is this? Is this?
No, this is something that we need to launch. We have launched.
Want to launch it. So you're not yet talking with schools to.
Well, we are talking with schools already about the vision. So we are seeing that it's very attractive. Okay.
But there's not yet any step of building.
No, because we're not ready.
I can talk to you about an initiative here. Ada Sekirin is the ICT Woman of the Year of 2013, and I just did an interview to her because she has a program called My Digital Future here in Brussels, and they did exactly one of the ideas you have, that is going to a school and proposing to do a workshop of a week for children to teach them something digital. So there were games in one room, programming on the other one, and the idea was just to promote this entrepreneurial mind and see that, well, technology is not so hard to reach, that they could do something with it, and anyway, they will need something to live on the future society of digital knowledge. And she did that, and that's why I was asking about percentages. She got like 20%, 15% of people interested in going there. Obviously, there's also a capacity problem, how much they can teach.
Sure.
There are a limit of volunteers.
The demand is there.
But almost all of the ones that were there were happy to see that they could do something, that it was something that could be learned by them. And she was attacking these schools with the inclusiveness problems, so from immigrant backgrounds, as a way of integrating.
It's very similar to what we do.
What sort of groups of pupils did you work? Mixed? Only Jongens,
Boys.
boys, and only
No, they are mixed up because the
Because-
schools are mixed up in Italy.
because boys and girls work together in a different way.
Yeah, in fact, I mean the girls tend to work together
Yes,
around the
on
workstation.
on the same level, and the boys are working hierarchic. There is a chief and there is something. That's different way to work together.
Yeah, there is in fact, there was a program in robotics done by Fraunhofer years ago. It was called Roberta, and they created an entire didactics for girls, taking into account of that cognitive differences. But if they want to blend in our space, I want to see it, and I often say that it's a space for freedom. It's a space to be yourself, right? I mean, here, forget about the status of the schools and make tabula rasa. No, here you need to be yourself.
Yes, but with boys there is a danger that some of them are excluded. They are in the group, but they don't do something in the group because they are excluded by the others.
Well, this is where I think
That you don't have that with girls.
if
Less than before.
But you
Yes.
may not end up deciding
Let's
to do
not
anything.
go in a separate debate.
You may not end up deciding for doing something. You just discussing this.
No.
Rules.
Yeah, you are one group.
We need both of them.
Yes, you need both. But that's what I mean.
But he mentioned that you had one part where you discuss about the different roles in the group and
yeah, in the team building exercises.
yeah.
So that's where young boys and girls, but also old boys and girls can come to play. I mean, because we work quite a lot for active aging, we have a historical project which is called Noni su Internet, which means grandparents in the internet. Okay, in this project, youngsters from all ages, from primary schools to upper secondary, the schools open the door, and the older people, and in Rome, there is a structure of older people centers. Italy is one of the countries with the highest proportion of older people, about 25% now, and it's growing up. People have these older people centers where they get together, they go dancing and more this type of entertainment, but by linking with them and linking them with the schools, the older people have gone back to school, right, to learn computing. And the teachers are the kids. So sometimes you get a 90-year-old person with a 9-year-old kid who is teaching how to move the... And the teacher, the proper teacher, is just a coordinator. He just needs to see what's going on, the director of the orchestra. So here is a project with life 21st century skills, right? The youngsters are learning to teach, are learning patience, are learning intergenerational communication. So there are many areas of the life skills which they are learning. It's not... and they are transmitting knowledge to older people, but older people tend to transmit them wisdom. So in the end, one of the most interesting things that comes out are the affective relationships. Because they continue to see each other, they exchange gifts and all that. So there is a very rich human process. That project is all over Italy now, and is in Europe. And the project I mentioned, the Come On project, is a step forward, because it's not just about the learning, the digital divide, the intergenerational divide, the digital divide. It's now about social innovation. So now the groups of youngsters and older people are going to work on first building the team. So they will be given the element of team building games to play and then reflect. And then they will be working on projects to improve the community. So that's a big jump from just the digital divide. But this is activation. It's one of the big areas of the European Union.
Did you remind me a lot of the Granny Cloud project, the digital division, you know that one?
No?
It comes from the Hole in the Wall project.
The Hole in the Wall, yeah, I know that, yeah.
And there the problem was that the kids were self-regulating their education.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest problems they had was insurance. I mean, being sure that what you're learning is valuable. So that in some cases they showed that they were doing high, very tough educational things, but they were very insecure about it.
Yeah.
And to solve that, they wanted to have this granny kind of person saying, yes, very good, right? Although you don't need to understand it, you just need to say, yes, very good. So what they did is actually connect with, in England, with older, what do you call that, places where old people, retirement houses, where they put people, so old people in retirement houses would connect to the slums in India and would become the virtual granny. So that's the granny cloud, so they create a whole cloud of grannies. And I've talked to people because in Brussels there's a problem with not a lot of people knowing Dutch. There's a lot of immigration, and I've been talking to them to actually install a Dutch granny cloud to actually connect the kids of those immigrants with those people in the older house who are creating that connection. So. The project never came off ground. So.
It didn't.
Here in Brussels, it didn't. I've talked to the
because now Shuga Mitra, the guy of the on the wall, is building an environment.
Yeah.
He won a grant of $1 million. It was a prize, $1 million. So he's building an entire virtual environment for kids, taking forward the idea of self-organized learning, the soul. So so many things, beautiful things are emerging everywhere. No? From that point of view, it's an exciting time, challenging too.
Do you see a connection with the Khan Academy?
Sure.
Who is also free learning?
No, that's another. So the self-organized learning, it's a type of self-organized learning, the flipped classroom is called that. Absolutely, I mean, what you have over there is a completely self-organized because you are providing an environment of videos, which is fundamentally now for standardized knowledge, because these are lectures which have been taken into an environment where you can organize yourself and put yourself. So there is obviously a very strong linkage with the Khan Academy, but also show you that the demand for the things, is there. I mean, people are getting more and more used and trained to all these new types of, like the MOOCs, The MOOC still is obviously, I think it's in the first steps of transferring from the classroom into the environment, the virtual environment, but I'm sure the MOOCs will evolve completely into the future. But I don't know whether they will evolve into, because the 5 M's that I was talking about from all this area of problem solving is intended to be self-organized learning. But we need a lot of, still I think, resources, and we're trying to get the resources to make them more, we need to add elements to make it easier, the communication. Because being like a new object, it's very difficult to just throw it and say, okay, it's self-organized, use it. There must be a hidden structure into it, so that people can choose where they position themselves. But the concept itself need to be well explained, need to get built up. And presumably this will be other 5 M's, or we will need to add element of a video lesson where you explain more in detail what that particular 5M is giving you. No? But the idea is that we want to see a full support environment, but going back, not just of material. I want to see a support environment where there is the didactic material, but also people, right? So I mean, I want to see those managers, I don't know, 1,000 managers, 1,000 artisans, I don't know, hackers, whatever. People who are willing to give even an hour of time a week to support somebody else, right? Or willing to go a morning into a school to support somebody else. So this is very strongly education for life in the sense of the fundamental values, right? There might be an ethics and a dynamics. A dynamics which is not, you see, like encumbering, no? It's a dynamics that, in a sense, is telling you, well, look, I mean, this is the education that is needed for this century. If we just looked a little bit, we take consciousness of what are the problems that we are dealing with in terms of the advances, science and technology, crisis and environment and all those type of things, we need a different type of education that goes deeply into us. And this is an environment for it. It's not just an environment. Khan Academy is an environment for learning, school, if you like, and university knowledge. I'm more interested into the entire us. Because we are like this, huh? We are complex, contradictory, weird.
But how can you keep people in the system?
Well, that's a challenge.
A few times, but then
this is where you are into a journey, right? I mean, all these are adventures. You may have a vision. Visions are being born every day. Some may go further away, some may reach here. For me, the possibility, if you like, of being in Rome and being able to create the foundation, I had the instrument to then develop a much larger vision. Without the foundation, it was not possible to do this, right? So, having developed the entire package, there is a space to try an adventure of this nature, which is extremely ambitious, huh? But this is the type of things I like most.
So, from your view, where will the adventure lead you to? What do you see as the mid-term, long-term possibilities?
This is a good question to ask because remember I'm in Italy, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Italy has no culture of long term.
Just to put it in perspective, since when are you doing this?
This okay, the foundation.
Yeah.
We started initially it was a consortium. So the organizational journey, like, started in 2001. Okay, in 2006 it became the foundation, and during another period we have been building the platform of contacts, networks, and projects, and knowledge. So yeah, it's a kind of dozen years, which has enabled us to arrive to think things like this. Huh? Because this is not something that you just think in the vacuum, no? This is something that is an evolution, actually, of everything we have done in a dialogue with the evolution of the environment. Because the fact that we have moved much more strongly into education for life with the context of jobs and growth and entrepreneurship and innovation, that has been accelerated by the crisis. And because the crisis creates such a situation, threatening even our own organization, that you really need to respond. But the crisis at the same time has brought into the open, no, the fundamental values problems that exists in our societies, no? And the way in which the crisis is being dealt with. I mean, here entire generations have been lost. For me, that's a crime. But it's not a crime that is being punished anywhere, right? But if there are 46% of youngsters without an future in another place, then what's going on with the life of those people? And what is it being done for that, no? And in the process, what you see is everybody's concentrating, trying to save the banks, and there's another rationale, no? It's another rationale that is not conducive to tackle this type of problems. And for me, okay, these are the things that are my concern. Other people, no?
How do you mentioned the needs, the non-employed, non-studying ones? How do you reach them?
It's very difficult because they are in the street.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I have a friend who is the head of the agency for work in Calabria. In Calabria, 65% of youngsters are unemployed. A part that is a place where it's penetrated by criminality, it's a very difficult environment. And I've been discussing with him how can we, rebuild or build afresh, like a new social capital, a new cultural capital. How can we begin to create the institutions that can change that situation? It is estimated that by 2050, 5 million young people would have left the south of Italy. Right? So, I mean, for me, these are catastrophic processes. Yet, I mean, people take them, look at the statistic, it's bad, the statistic, No?
Back to business.
But no, this is the type of problem to reach the needs. Yeah, it's a difficult area. I think the best way is to reach them before they become need. So try to tackle the school abandonment, which is also very high, and the rate of people who are abandoning. So I mean, you need to start, I think, with the school abandonment, and from there to begin to move into some type of networks that may exist, because the need, they do nothing. Okay, I mean, they're a fertile ground also for criminality and other developments.
But did I understand well that the focus of this whole long change transformation of education is for you on the institutionalization of the new kind of education, right?
Yeah. I mean, that would be the...
Compare it with other projects, like, for example, in Khan Academy, it's more focused, I guess, on the technology, to mediate it, than actually to institutionalize it. So I'm trying to understand.
But the Khan Academy is an institution now.
That's it.
The Khan Academy is an institution now, right?
Yeah, but you didn't start as an institution.
But the institutions, they become institutions, no?
Yeah.
Because they start as practices,
Yes.
and eventually they are acknowledged. They develop a reputation. People begin to join in. Very much as like the stick merging processes, no?
Oh.
So.
This is bringing to schools what is lacking now. So all entrepreneurial skills, nobody is teaching that. So then what's the main?
Well, it was very fascinating to see if stuff like that can actually be then applied in different countries.
Yeah, no, I mean we will push. In fact, we have the foundation has a pretty good reputation, so we have that. I think what will be interesting for us will be to see what will happen with the push toward let's get these things into the world of schools now, right? Just as the physics lab, get an innovation gym.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And what do you do in this innovation gym? All this. You do entrepreneurship, creativity. Everybody talks about entrepreneurship, creativity. I mean, this is unavoidable today. I mean, if there is something that people would like to see spread, and everybody's talking about it, is creativity, entrepreneurship, and stuff like that. So if you link there, right, and we have, this was the point when our previous work, the bit and pieces were developed, we put them together into systemic thing, you know, to offer an entire program. Now this program, we are now in negotiations with the region, because we would like them to support the spread of innovation gyms all over, right? I don't know, 50, 100 innovation gyms. Even we have the support of the region, because what I said before is without support, right? Just launch a project, let's use crowdfunding, because in Italy it's better not to expect support, right? So if you expect support, you finish there. So it's better to have an alternative where you will build it anyway. But if we manage, in the process of constituency building, to align the region into all this language of entrepreneurship and creativity and jobs and growth, we say, this is it. We are working here for a diffuse culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. So alignment of language. Right? At the moment, we have a problem. We are a foundation, we are not allowed to participate. It's only for SMEs. So at the moment, we are trying to change the governance, right? So we have been in meetings and we've been in talks with them about why we are doing, I mean, we are right doing these things that you're talking about. Why are you excluding organizations by foundations? So at the moment, if we manage to change the governance, we may be in with a good support, right? Like official support.
Do you teach the teachers how they have to teach your system? Because the teachers, they have learned to teach in a conservative way, and it's not easy to change your way.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, we work with the what we call the innovative teachers. The teaching profession, also in Italy, you got to take into account that I think the average age is over 50. So, and in any case, from a cross section of the population, not everybody is innovative. Right? So, the people that work really with us are the innovative teachers, and they are really very keen on the things. Yes. So they are our pulsing force into the system. So we concentrate on them. We give them the training. And then they go into the schools and mobilize. They can talk to the other friend teacher who is enthusiastic. And we are quite keen to move into universities. And there's a little movement that's emerging in Rome called Open Hub, which is emerging inside the universities. For people who want to work with the same spirit, but for social innovation, but inside the universities. So we are beginning to link so that they will they will work inside our own environment. Because the biggest thing that you need to do in our environment is to bring people together, to see that they can be part together of a larger vision. It's not easy, huh? But it's nice. It's nice when you see that it may begin to function. But it's a massive cultural change for the place, huh? Because what happens that with the crisis, everybody has retreated. No? So if you are an NGO and you have your little funding, you don't want to share it. Okay? It's my bread. Okay? So there is a huge amount of fragmentation where people, they get together in talks and conferences, but everybody just talk to each other, no? And they never come out any, hey, let's do a common project here. So we're trying to challenge that by building the fundamental skills for the makers and the managers, and then we can begin to blend those communities. We create a kind of CERN accelerator, right? So where all these communities can converge, and let's see what happens. It may be an atomic explosion, we don't know.
Well, you're kind of right. It's very different from if you compare it with source events. If you, for example, compare a research event with open source event, you see this very clearly. It's more in the research event, you can present your paper and then you get back home, right? While in the open source event, you present an idea and a few hours later you try to collaborate with the other people to actually solve the problem, which is a very different dynamic. It's
the same as the makers.
Versus creating synergies.
Absolutely, that's the reason why I was talking about open and social innovation, because that's culture. Right? It's not just the innovation of any innovation. It's that culture that is interesting. No? The makers are the same. The makers, by ethics, if you like, if you create a design, you need to make it public. No? So somebody else can, in fact, there's a guy in Rome who has become an expert in building machines. He picked all the designs from the web, and then he contacted the people. This is sharing culture. This is what we need, no? A sharing culture to face the big problems. Not just to build things, but to build the world. No?
Do you have any measure of results of what you gave?
We have evaluated. We tend to use what we call some real-time evaluation. For instance, the program I mentioned between kids and older people, we can run an evaluation. We have done the same thing with immigrants and refugees when we have used a program with the development of materials to help the integration of people into the Italian society. So we run an evaluation. It can be element of quantitative evaluation in terms of presence and how many people and courses and whatever. But then we also tend to concentrate on perceptions of value flows, meaning what was the value that the people perceived it was given to them.
Yeah, right after the lab.
It can be at the beginning, in the sense of what you have, right? Do you know computing? Have you ever done games? And blah, blah. So you have that. You know the starting point, okay? And then in the process, that is expected to change. But you can also ask questions, for instance, in terms of life skills. No? Did you learn? So it's a statement. So this course allow me or taught me to communicate to other generations. That's a statement. So you can say, okay, from 1 to 10, what do you think of this statement? Did this give you something? So people will vote that. No? Then you can. The value flows, you can separate them depending on the initiative. So some initiatives can have, for instance, even financial results. Right? If you are, I was involved in a program in Edinburgh called Connect, but this was a program for cultural entrepreneurship in Scotland. So it was called Connect because it was all about connecting people, venture capitalists with entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs with university students with ideas, commercial accountants and lawyers. So it was all the stakeholders, if you like, of an entrepreneurial system for a region. And so you were valued in that place, they were financial. No? Because part of the thing, they were creating a big, actually eventually created a big venture capital conference. So they were training also the students to present. Okay, you are a university student, don't arrive there with a chewing gum, you know. These guys are bankers, so you need to give the impression immediately. You're aligning them. No, you cannot misalign them just by entering into the room. So I mean, all these things were part of this program. So we were evaluating social value. So did I meet people for this, for that, for that, for that? They were evaluating financial values. Did I get a contact that will go to? Did I get $1 million from the contact to the funding? And knowledge. Did I get knowledge about this and that? So depending on the areas that you're offering with your project, you create the questionnaire. and the evolution of those values. So this we have done, but as the numbers grow, it becomes more difficult, because if you do it manually with Excel and all that, okay, now you have a SurveyMonkey, right? So you can do it automatic, and in the end, all that you do is to write the interpretation of the figures. But before, we needed to enter everything manually into Excel, and then the graphics and all. It was a huge amount of work. Now this is becoming much better. But evaluation is very important. We look at evaluation, as we say, not as a post-mortem factor. No? Once the project is dead, we see it as a learning factor. Evaluation is a learning factor. So we talk about real-time evaluation. I'm talking about that, the virtual system, virtual.org, which is the virtual dimension of a social innovation. I see it as a window. It's constructed with the idea of being a wisdom, a window into the reality of the project. So you don't need in the future to send a report saying, okay, I've done this, that. The ideal evaluation in the future is just to enter the web space for that project, because that web space has per project, it has a kind of social network, right? So if it works, and all the constituents of a project, and these constituents can be, well, as I was mentioning before, no? In the socio-technical constituencies thing, can be the bankers, can be the customers, can be anyone. They could all be visibly, they have a profiling page inside your project page. So you could see visibly the growth of the community, right? Apart from the fact that we offer different areas, there's fast knowledge. Fast knowledge, we see it as the news and highlights, little video, kind of superficial but very quick stuff, no? Different ways of communicating and working your project. And then you have things like case studies or testimonials or narratives, including development plan, and etc. No? So if eventually the virtual dimension is perceived as completely integrated strategically into how you build the project, no? What you will really do, you will build a window into the real life of your project. And that's the evaluation I would like to see in the future.
Do you have statistics of how many, let's say, you are almost 15 years around? No, 13. The 13 years around this the foundation. Do you have any statistics how successful are those people who went through all this? Successful in whatever further life.
You mean the people?
Yeah, those children.
The people who have been part of the project?
Yes.
Well, this is something that I will take one community, no? Let's say older people. Yeah, all the older people who have gone through our courses, they are supposed to have become more digital.
Yeah, but did they?
Yeah. Not all of them, you see, because the diversity is huge. I mean, what you are talking here, I will give you those two examples. Right? The refugee community and the older people community. These are market of one. Okay? Because you may have a person over 60. Right? And over 60 can be educated, can be very healthy, can have some experience of computing, or a family. So if we go back to the diagram of the person, right? His own surrounding environment and himself may be more developed than another person who has no experience, is alone, he has problems. One of the biggest problems is to control the mouse, right? Because the mouse, the hand is not very skillful, okay? So this is some of the fears. I mean, this is the fears of going, I'm not capable of learning anymore, I mean, it was so long ago. All those areas, right? Every person is one. Okay, you cannot say older people and have a standardized program, and that's the reason why we have the kids as tutors, because the kids are one-to-one, so the kids can connect with them in their own needs. Okay, so there will be people, and we have a lot of testimonials. I mean, we have 90-year-old people who the testimonials are absolutely great in the sense of this has changed my life. Now I can do Skype, I can do this, I can do that. Before I was outside this world. Okay? So, but it's mixed. There will be other people who forget. One of the biggest problems of the very old people is that they forget. So they may come to one session and the next session, okay, they're still there, right? So, but as I'm saying, no, like in any population of this diversity, you will see people who will take greater advantage than others. And that's where the evaluations that we do have not followed them into what has happened in their lives before. That has only happened on the basis of the testimonials that we have then had. But like most projects, to do an evaluation following people, it would be quite a costly effort. So we haven't done that. The same thing with the refugees. I mean, we were in a center of 400 refugees from Horn of Africa, the Horn of Africa, Afghanistan, Albania. I mean, a population of incredible mix, right? Of religions, of education, of cultures. And we learned to create an environment in which we had a classroom and a cyber cafe, blending flows of knowledge, which were formal and informal. No? And there was an evolution of that program right into apprenticeship stage, into companies. Some people were able to go and learn about CAD. No, for instance, other people no. So that's the life. We get some water again. You see, this is also life.
Maybe we can stop here and continue in a cafe with a beer or coffee.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Welcome, coffee.